Hey y'all, it's your girl Missniecytv, and I'm here to do a review for Sistas Season 6, Episode 22. The episode picks up with Dany still talking to Sabrina about Preston getting married. Sabrina's like, how and when did he do that? And Dany's like, he went to the courthouse and did it because a few hours after we broke up, he got married. Sabrina asks Dany how she feels about it, and Dany trying to act all nonchalant like she doesn't care, but we know she cares, because she knows she lost a good thing and she won't ever be able to get that back. Sabrina's like, Andy sent you a picture of it? Dany's like, yeah, I'll even read you the message. She goes on to say that Preston said, you made your decisions and I made mine. You're blocked out of my phone and out of my life for good. Sabrina says, wow, that's harsh. How do you feel about it? Dany says, I'm going out tonight, so it really doesn't matter. Mary, what do you want me to do? And Sabrina's like, I don't think it was done for you. Dany is like, you made it very clear it was over, so what do you want me to do? Sabrina's still trying to check on Dany to make sure she's good, and Dany's like, I'm fine, you could stop asking me. Sabrina's like, okay, then I'll stop asking you, but what about the double date? Dany's like, are you really asking me that right now? And Sabrina's like, yes, because I know how you are, and you'll try to mess up a good thing all because you're hurt. Dany's like, well, I don't need nobody to keep watching over me, and we're not going on the double date. Over at the law firm, we see Gary, Penelope, and Andy talking, and Gary's like, where y'all going? Gary's like, where y'all going? Andy's like, we're going to my office. Gary's like, I'm going with you. Andy's like, no, you're not. Gary's like, Penel, I love you. Don't let her get in your head. She means nothing to me. Penelope's like, I don't want to talk to you, Gary. Gary's trying to make Penelope leave with him, and Penelope's not going for it. She's like, I ain't going no. Gary's still begging and pleading for her sympathy, and I don't mind because you mean that much to me, and this is when it's given very much temptation. This is when Fatima walks up, and she's like, where are you going? Gary's like, I'm going with them. Fatima's like, no, you're not. Fatima tells Andy to go to her office, and she steps up to Gary. She's like, she keeps telling Gary to leave, and Gary's like, what you did to hate it with that low down dirty whore, you gonna pay for it. I'm not done with you. Gary tells Fatima to get out of his face, so she steps up closer. Fatima's like, there's not a nigga on this planet that's lower than you. Gary's like, do you like your job? Fatima's like, you make me not give a F about this job or a prison. This is when Hayden shows up, and Gary's like, move Fatima, I actually have a standing appointment with my lawyer. And Gary asks Hayden, can I come back to your office? Hayden's like, yeah, of course, he's my client. Fatima's like, oh, okay. Hayden's office is that way, and you stay away from Andy. Gary's like, you know what, Fatima, you got a little bulldog in you. Fatima's like, yeah, I do. And if you're not careful, you'll see how she bites. Hayden felt the need to insert himself, and Hayden's like, what I got planned for you, you just wait. Fatima tells Hayden, you know what? You better stop messing with me or you're gonna be counting your days. And knowing you, you better start counting now. Then we see Andy and Penelope in her office. Penelope's like, he's not coming in here, is he? Andy's like, no, Fatima got it. Andy's like, I talked to your brother and he said you had some questions for me. Penelope's like, yeah, I do. Andy's like, I told him I wasn't really that comfortable with answering the questions. And Penelope's like, I wouldn't force you to do anything you don't want to do. Andy's like, it's okay, you're here now. Penelope starts asking all these questions like, do you still love him? Do you want to be with him? Do you miss him? And Andy's like, no, not after last night. So then Penelope pulls out this calendar and she's like, I have some dates here and I just wanted you to take a look at them. Penelope's like, was he with you here, here, and here? And Andy's like, yeah. But for some of those days, we weren't together. And Penelope's like, okay, well, I heard him on the phone with a female. And Andy's like, well, you know he does have female clients. And Penelope's like, yeah, I know, I believed him. And Penelope's like, well, were you with him here? Andy's like, he told me he was out of town. Penelope's like, yeah, we're not the only ones. Andy's like, what do you mean? Penelope's like, we're not the only ones. He has plenty of women that he does this to. Penelope shows Andy a ring and she's like, this is our ring. Andy's like, yeah. Penelope's like, well, it's not our ring. Penelope passes Andy her phone and she's like, look at her ring, it's the same as ours. Andy's trying to act like she's in disbelief. Like, no, you really couldn't do this. Andy, if he did it to you, what makes you think he won't do it to other people? Please make that make sense. Penelope's like, you think he's just running women like this? And Andy's like, I don't know, but there's only one way to find out. Penelope's like, no, I'm not talking to him. Andy's like, I want to know. We need to know. Penelope's like, no, I'm not talking to him. Andy tells Penelope to give her hands, and Penelope's reluctant. She's like, give me your hand. I will do all the talking. You don't have to worry about it. That's when Andy calls Fatima, and Fatima comes into Andy's office, and they leave out to go confront Gary. And Penelope's like, do you even know what's going on? And Fatima's like, I know enough to have your back. Over in the conference room, we see Gary talking to Hayden, and that's when the ladies interrupt him. They're like, sorry to interrupt your meeting. Hayden's like, y'all need to go. Andy's like, we're here. Fatima's like, and we're staying. Andy's like, so me and my new friend Penelope here discovered that you were with more than just us after comparing dates from the calendar that she made. Fatima's like, and y'all compared all that? Andy's like, yeah. Fatima's like, what? Gary's like, I don't have to answer nothing for y'all. Andy's like, you don't? Gary's like, no, because you don't matter to me. Gary starts pleading his case again, like, Penelope, you're the only one that matters. You're the only one I love. She don't mean nothing. Gary, how many times you going to say that? You sound like a broken record at this point. Gary's like, Penel, look at me. Andy's like, the famous look at me line. He used to do that to me too. He used to be like, Andy, look at me. Then he used to buy me cars, houses, clothes, and jewelry. And then he would come to my house at night begging. Fatima's like, don't fall for that. He's gonna play you like he did Andy. Aiden's like, just like you did me with Tamara. Aiden's like, you're trash. Fatima's like, I got your trash. Hayden's like, I'ma get you back. And Fatima's like, don't threaten me, Hayden. I'll have your butt beat again. What I did the first time was light work with the quarters in the sling. Hayden's like, you just gonna admit that in front of all these witnesses? Fatima's like, what witnesses? Andy and Penelope are like, we didn't hear nothing. Of course Gary gotta be like, I did. Andy's like, let me tell you how I met Gary's wife, Penelope. Penelope's like, his wife? You did not tell me nothing about a wife. Gary's like, I did tell you I had a situation. Andy's like, well, she came to me as a client looking to divorce him. Fatima's like, she is bat crazy. Andy's like, I see why. He made her that way. Fatima says, I'm seeing a pattern here. Andy's like, are you done abusing black women? Gary's like, what you talking about? Gary's like, don't believe them. This is what they do. They sleep from men to men. And Penelope, you love me, and I love you. Let's think about our child. Penelope's like, don't do that. Gary's like, she doesn't mean anything to me. Andy's like, Gary, you want to know something? You don't mean nothing to me either. I just used you. I did love you and I wanted it to work, but after all you put me through, I just used you, and I was waiting until my perfect partner came along. And in the meantime, I got a house, cars, clothes, and jewelry. Thank you for cheating. Thank you for lying, because it made it so much easier to get over you. And I never want to see your face again. He's like, that was all material. Don't believe her. Don't get caught up in all this. Penelope, can we go somewhere and talk? Penelope's ready to go, but before they get up and leave, Penelope pushes Gary and she tells him to go to the lower room. In the hallway, the ladies are talking, and Andy's like, I'm so sorry. Penelope's like, I got this baby, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I wish I knew. Andy's like, it's okay, you're gonna get through it. Andy's like, I wish I knew what they were talking about right now. Fatima's like, they're talking about you. Andy's like, how you know? Fatima's like, because I left my phone and I'm listening on my AirPods. You want to listen? Andy's like, of course I do. He says the only reason he said that stuff to Andy is because he got caught by Penelope. He really likes Penelope, but he doesn't love her. He knows that Penelope is weak, so she'll be back. And Aiden's like, so you be giving rings to other women? Gary's like, of course I do. It's the same ring, but I don't marry them though. While Andy's listening, Penelope's like, what are they saying? Andy's like, you don't want to know. Fatima's like, yeah, you don't want to know. Gary's like, I don't lose. I'm going to make sure I get them back. Hayden's like, so you going to help me with this Zach and Fatima thing? Gary's like, I don't know. Hayden's like, we're business partners, aren't we? Gary's like, I don't know about Zach, but I'll help you with Fatima. Gary's like, something not right. That's when you notice Fatima's phone sitting on the table. Hayden's like, I told you she's always up to something. That's when Fatima goes and gets her phone, and she's like, sorry guys, I left my phone. We see Fatima talking to Andy after Penelope leaves, and Andy's like, you shouldn't have set up Hayden. That was wrong. Fatima's like, well, he started it first. He never leaves me alone. So I had to teach him a lesson. I did really start to feel bad about it, but he deserves it. Over at the new salon, we see Karen talking to Brian, and they're talking about the building and the price of the building. And this is when the new realtor that Zach cooked Karen up with by the name of Chelsea walks in, and she tells Karen that this is a good price, but she shouldn't negotiate it because Brian said it was a good price. Brian excuses himself and he leaves. And this is when Chelsea does too much for me. She started asking Karen, why is he talking about taking you back to his car? The only woman he let in his car is his wife, and he never cheated on her. He must really like you. He might be too blind to see it. I'm like, girl, do you want him or something? Because you're doing too much for me. Over at Zach and Fatima's, Fatima comes home from work, and Zach tells Fatima that he wants to give Heather $100,000 for Michael, and Fatima's like, why don't you start off smaller? Because if you give her $100,000, she'll know that she can get more. Zach is like, I don't care what I gotta do, but I'm not waiting. Fatima's like, since you made up your mind, I can't stop you. Zach is like, well, I'll have it notarized. I already have the papers drawn up. All we gotta do is go. So they leave to head over to Heather's house. Over at Maurice's, we see Sabrina. She's calling Dany and talking to her about the double date that they're not going on. Dany is adamant about that, so they start talking about Preston again, and Dany's like, I don't want to talk about it. Sabrina's like, well, I'm coming over anyway. And Dany's like, I don't need you to come over here. I'm not a little girl that you need to watch. And that's how the conversation ends. Then we see Maurice coming out his room in a dominatrix outfit, and he's like, oh, this is about to be my new job. I gotta do something to make some money. Sabrina's like, no, you're not. Maurice is like, yes, I am. Then they start talking about each other's outfits, and Sabrina's like, I'm leaving because I can't take this. We're at the airport. We see Tony talking to Dany, and he's like, I told Rich that I don't want to double date. Dany's like, I told Sabrina the same thing. I just want it to be us because I don't know what we're going to get into tonight, especially if I have a few drinks. Tony offers to walk Dany to her car, but she says no. Heather's, we see Heather talking to Michael in the bathroom, and she's like, stay right there. Then she goes in the living room because she has a knock at the door. And she's like, who is it? Zach is like, it's me. She's like, go away. Zach is like, I ain't going nowhere, but I got money though. Heather's like, what'd you say? Zach is like, I got money. Heather's like, well, let me see. Zach is like, I'm gonna let you see it from the door. Be for real. So she lets Zach in, and Zach is like, where Michael at? Heather's like, he's in the room. And Zach is like, okay, well, I want to talk to you about something. Heather's like, what? Zach is like, I got $25,000 for you if you let me have custody of Michael. Heather's like, I'm not doing it. Like, I got 50. Heather's like, I'm not doing it. Zach is like, I got 100. Heather's like, I'm not doing it. But what you looking at Fatima for? Because that looks at Fatima, because he's looking at her like she was right. Fatima already told Zach that Heather was going to win $100,000. Heather was like, you didn't even know he was yours. Zach was like, thanks to you, now I do. He's like, our son needs a stable and healthy environment. Heather's like, why are you trying to buy him? Zach is like, I'm not. I just want him to have the best life. While Heather and Zach are arguing, Fatima takes it upon herself to walk into the room. And that's when she sees Michael tied up in the bathtub. That's when she screams for Zach. Zach is like, Heather, have you lost your mind? Heather says, I just tied him there because he likes to get away. Zach picks up the baby from the tub, and Heather tries to grab Zach to stop him from grabbing the baby. Fatima slams Heather against the door. And I'm like, Zach, or Fatima, why didn't you take a picture of it? Because you can use it in court. I'm like, weren't you thinking? Fatima is still fighting with Heather, and Zach is like, I got him. He's carrying him to the car. Fatima almost pulls out her gun on Heather. That's when Heather grabs a shoe, and she's like, what you gonna do with that? Heather's like, y'all kidnapping my baby. And that's when they run out the house. They put little Michael in the car, and they drive away. And as they're coming out the house, the neighbor Cher goes, I'm glad somebody took that baby. Over at the airport, we see Dany checking out her car because her window looks busted. And she's inspecting the car, and that's when a guy comes up from behind her, puts his arms and his hands around her face, and tackles her to the ground in an attempt to kidnap her. And I'm like, that's how you really gonna end the season? Let me know what you guys think about the season. Let me know what you guys thought about the season. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, turn on your bell notifications. Bye!